match here. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right, so let's get started with the battle. I love Rotom, so I'm hoping to see both of those come out immediately.
And of course, right off the bat, we are seeing that Rotom Wash come out, as well as the Thundurus. Then on Lou's side, an Aerodactyl and that Landorus as well.
So one thing that's interesting here is whether or not this is going to be Defiant Thundurus, right? Intimidate comes out from that Landorus, and let's see.
No Defiant boost, so it must be Prankster that we're seeing on Lee's side of the board here.
Exactly, and that Prankster will be really interesting because you can go for that priority Thunder Wave. So that can maybe help a little bit in slowing down things here. Rotom Wash is definitely very strong in this matchup in general, I think, right? Especially if it gets something like a Nasty Plot off, then it could potentially Dynamax. So you can see that Lou is kind of debating, hey, maybe I should just target the Rotom, don't let it get a free Nasty Plot off. Rotom having access to both Nasty Plot and Will-O-Wisp means that it has a fair amount of options right now. And Aerodactyl, of course, able to provide that speed control with that Tailwind. So anytime Thundurus, gets a Defiant boost off, it's looking really good. But with no Defiant here, going to be a little bit less effective, especially if it chooses to Dynamax.
Right, Lee's side of the field here, opting to go for that Dynamax first turn with that Thundurus. Just looking to apply some early pressure here.
So let's see, I'm curious if it's a special Thundurus or physical, because you don't really want to, Dynamax Thundurus if it's intimidated. Ooh, the Will-O-Wisp comes out immediately, moving before Landorus and Aerodactyl.
It is going to connect that Aerodactyl, taking a burn. Lou was debating on maxing it looked like too, so it's going to be not dealing as much for the rest of the game. Landorus setting up with that Sword Stance, getting an attack boost right off of the bat here.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge boost here as the Max Airstream comes out from Thundurus, targeting Landorus. But yeah, look how little damage it does after the Intimidate. I think maybe Lee was hoping for a Defiant Thundurus here, didn't realize that the Defiant didn't actually go off, or perhaps he just really wanted to get that speed boost onto Rotom. But as you may have noticed, that Rotom moved before Aerodactyl, likely indicating that it's actually Choice Scarf Rotom. So, that priority, definitely helpful here. Lou manages to get a pretty big Sword Stance off as a result, and is still going to choose to Dynamax it, but, Landorus has taken around 50% of damage already.
Mm-hmm. As well, the pressure that Rotom offers, being able to hit a Will-O-Wisp into the Landorus as well, is a little scary, but Lou already having the attack boost will still be able to deal some resulting damage regardless.
I think one big question is always, what item is the Landorus? Is there a Lumberry? Because if so, that's going to make the Will-O-Wisp, not as strong. And Aerodactyl with that taunt, able to prevent that Will-O-Wisp. So if it is that Scarf Rotom, which it should be, won't actually be able to get that Will-O-Wisp off. It's a huge taunt.
Right. Rockfall hitting into the Thundurus. Huge hit, taking it out of the field right away. And setting up Sandstorm as a result as well.
Mm-hmm. A lot of damage there on the board, and picks up that one-hit KO. So, turn one was really critical, actually, from both players' end, especially because that Life Orb comes out, so that was a pretty much perfect turn from Lou's end, right? She's able to deny a Will-O-Wisp onto the main attacker, and she's got full speed control for that Landorus. In a matchup like this, I think, attacking first is always really important in Pokemon in general, and I think Lee, just going for that Max Airstream immediately, but not able to do that much damage, and that speed control in the end wasn't actually super relevant, because despite that speed boost, Aerodactyl was able to get that Tailwind up, which makes Lou's side of the field even faster. So, Lou on that first turn risked it a little bit with that Sword Stance, but it pays off so heavily, because now this Landorus is just looking like such a big threat, right? You're at +2 attack, you've got there's Delibird.
Let's go. All right, Delibird coming out. I'm really intrigued to see what set this Delibird is running, what we're going to be seeing from it. As it stands, I have no clue what it's going to be doing.
Yeah, I have no idea what to expect. Like, maybe a fake out. Ice Shard is the one thing I'm thinking. Maybe with Ice Shard you can pressure that Landorus, but because that Rotom I think is locked into Will-O-Wisp, it's probably going to want to switch out. So Lou's just in such a fantastic position, to be honest. The main question is whether or not you're worried about potential Ice Shard from Delibird getting a one-hit KO. So let's see. I'm so excited.
Being the Rockfall into the Rotom here. Rotom most likely swapping out, so whatever is going to be coming in is going to be taking a huge hit as a result here.
Absolutely. I think the tricky thing here from Lee's end is do you actually switch out Rotom, right? Like, if not, you just kind of waste a turn, you sacrifice Rotom, but is Lee really going to be able to win the game with a Delibird and a Rotom, right? Let's say you switch the Rotom out, whatever comes in is going to take the Rock Fall, and yeah, it looks like Lee actually doesn't want to give up whatever his last Pokemon is.
Right. Delibird taking a huge hit here, but Focus Sash is going to be living on 1 HP, so we can see a little bit of what it's about to do here. Rockfall into that Rotom here, and is just going to be taking that out as well.
Yeah, so no Fake Out from the Delibird, no Ice Shard. Probably go for a stronger attack.
Oh, the flinch! And the Sandstorm picking up the KO on the Delibird. Unfortunately, we're not going to be finding out quite yet what it's supposed to be doing here.
So sad that Delibird's first appearance, I think ever. I don't think I've ever seen a Delibird on a VGC stream. Comes out, faints immediately, and yeah, Dragonite's the last one there. But you can see why both players actually maybe have Aerodactyl on their team composition, right? It's a Rock-type Pokemon. It can set up speed control for both teams. And more importantly, you know, when your opponent's team is going to be entirely flying or levitate, you know, you're able to get these super effective Rock Slides off. More importantly in this game, the Aerodactyl was just really big for general support, right? Those Rock Slide damage wasn't actually super relevant, but it's more about setting up Tailwind. And that was just such a good Swords Dance on turn 1. I think like the first 2 turns basically went perfectly for Lou. And I think Lee, like I mentioned, maybe he was expecting, didn't realize that he actually didn't have Defiant Thunderous, or he just wanted to get that speed boost off. Either way, the Swords Dance into Max Rockfall was a perfect way to deal with that Thunderous. And so, yeah, I think like Lou ended up just really gaining like complete control after those first 2 turns.
Yeah, getting the speed control, getting the attack boost, especially in a Sky Battle. I mean, at that point you can just sweep the game. It's just so offensive. There's little that can really be done from the looks of it, especially with how that match went.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think going into this next battle, you know, I think Rotom Wash looked really good on paper actually initially, but we saw that it was a Choice Scarf variant, right? Most likely. So that's going to be really interesting as well, because with Choice Scarf, it means that it's actually not something like a Nasty Plot set, right? I was thinking, hey, if you're running Nasty Plot Rotom, you can Nasty Plot on turn 1, Dynamax that Rotom, and then just sweep through exactly like kind of the strategy that Lou executed. But because it's that Choice Scarf variant, I think it's going to be important for it to potentially get like some burns off with Will-O-Wisp. Imagine like if the burn went into Landorus instead of Aerodactyl on that first turn.
Exactly. Maybe an adjustment going into game 2 if that Rotom Wash is going to be brought back out, especially Lee now knowing that the Aerodactyl is a little more support with that Tailwind, with the Rock Slide just doing some damage but not really the main offensive force of the team here. I'm really hoping we see that Delibird back in game 2. I know maybe not, since it didn't really get an opportunity to do anything game 1, but I would love to just see what it can do going into game 2 here.
Yeah, definitely. I was thinking Delibird plus Rotom could actually be a really interesting lead, where both of those, if you have Fake Out or Ice Shard, you know, double up onto Aerodactyl immediately, pick up that KO, because speed is really the name of the game in a matchup like this. And so if you can knock out that Aerodactyl before it Tailwinds, then you'll probably have the advantage, especially if, you know, the fun thing about this set too is that every Pokemon, so many Pokemon are going to have like flying type attacks, so Max Airstream is going to be really relevant in terms of trying to gain that speed control as well. But let's jump into the second game and see what both players opt for.
Right, to Delibird and Dragonite right off. We wanted to see that Delibird, and here it is on Lou's side. The Landorus again, but paired with the Togekiss this time around.
Yeah, so Delibird here, like, I'm just still so curious. Like, initially in my head, I was thinking, hey, maybe the setup is, like, you self-Ice Shard into Dragonite, you know, with multi-scale, you don't take that much damage, it activates a weakness policy, and then you can go from there. But Lou here actually has that Togekiss, so even if it's a potential, like, Ice Shard weakness policy setup, Togekiss potentially can redirect away with something like a Follow Me here. And yeah, you see the Follow Me there, more supportive set on that Togekiss. And I think Lou recognized after that first game, hey, Swords Dance Landorus is so good into Lee's team. As a result, like you mentioned, Sierra, after, you know, at the beginning of that game, you can really just snowball very quickly in the Sky Battle here. So I think Lou definitely has that Swords Dance option. Looks like she's actually opting for that Rockfall, which is also safe, right? It guarantees like you redirect any damage away, and it also prevents a Fake Out into the Landorus slot this turn should Lee want to deny a Swords Dance.
As well, if the Delibird is an side Ice Shard proc, obviously this turn it won't be able to do much with that Follow Me, but getting rid of it so there's no opportunity to be activating potential weakness policy would be helpful as well, and just limiting the amount of damage that we can really output going forward.
Absolutely. And, by going for Rockfall here, it's a nice move because we know that Delibird has that Focus Sash, but you also set up the Sandstorm, so it basically ensures a one-hit KO onto Delibird on the first turn. I think the only way even if you protect it with Delibird, it's still not going to take a Rockfall, through Protect very well, especially without Medial Light. So Lu going for this play to try to just guarantee a knockout onto Delibird, prevent a potential Ice Shard setup for the next turn.
Togekiss with that Follow Me here. No takeout on the other side. And the Delibird, it does go for the Ice Shard. It's going to be doing some damage to this Togekiss here, but probably not the intended target. Probably looking to hit into that Dragonite. We are going to see that Rock Ball just right into that Delibird. Just get it off of the field as fast as you can.
Yep, exactly. So poor Delibird in the 2 games that it's come out. First game got flinched, probably wasn't going to be able to do too much in that position anyway. But then in this game, Lu with the oh wow, and it's the Max Hailstorm. So you can see how big of a Follow Me that was, right? Not only prevents a weakness policy setup, but also redirects a 4-time super effective attack away from that Landorus. So great lead adjustment by Lu here to bring out that Togekiss.
Hail Chip going across the board here. But the Delibird not taking the Sand Chip now is actually going to be holding on for another turn. That Focus Sash did go off. It has the 1 HP. The Sandstorm isn't going to be taking it out. So it has another opportunity to impress us here.
Yeah, let's see. I think, Lu recognizes, given that the Ice Shard came out last turn, has to respect that weakness policy setup, so might as well just go for a safe Follow Me, right? It's exactly what she's opted for. I love the Max Airstream decision here. You don't want to activate a weakness policy on that Dragonite with the Max Rockfall, so, might as well get the KO onto Delibird, let that faint, and get a speed boost here. And with that Follow Me, you can see Dragonite's damage output very underwhelming if it actually doesn't have that weakness policy boost.
Especially the Airstream as well. We saw in the first game the speed control was so important here. So Lu not getting the Tailwind this time, but instead getting that Max Airstream put her in a bit more in a defensive position. Another Hailstorm though is going into that Togekiss, bringing it real low, but not quite taking it out yet.
Yeah, and the fact it survives is a really big deal. 3 HP after the Hail there, and the reason why that's such a big deal is because effectively, Lu's doing a really good job out of stalling Lee's Dynamax, right? Now, what's interesting is that I think Rotom Wash potentially in the back could be really valuable as a late game sweeper. I love actually the decision for Lee to bring out that Celesteela right now because it's really bulky, and I think it's probably the best Pokemon on Lee's team to deal with those potential Max Rock Falls from Landorus. So, you can play a little bit more defensively right now. And so I think Lu's, definitely had a good start, but at the same time, Lee definitely isn't out of it by any means. Sure, Delibird didn't get to do very much, but Celesteela in general is just a very bulky Pokemon. So big question is, does Lu actually have the appropriate answers for it in the back? Another thing to note is that this Togekiss has screens, which is not something you see very often. So you'd be kind of surprised if it actually gets one off, although actually has that speed boost from Max Airstream. So might actually get to move.
All right, Dragonite going for that Max Guard. So this Rockfall isn't going to be doing much the last one of the turn. As well, that light screen is going to be going up. So reduce damage from special attacks going forward. The Celesteela going for a Meteor Beam. It's going to be a big hit here.
Yeah, the Meteor Beam gives you a special attack boost as well. So, Lu definitely has some good answers against the Celesteela, potentially in the back of her team. There's the Meteor Beam onto Landorus. Decent damage there at the end of the day, though, with that light screen actually going off. That speed boost earlier was actually really critical because it means that, you ensure you outspeed Dragonite. And so getting that screens off actually before fainting is a really, really big deal because Celesteela, is specially oriented. And, oh, man, Thundurus Therian in the back is the perfect Pokemon for Lu to bring in right now. It just is super, super good counter to that Celesteela specifically. And I think the tricky thing for this Dragonite right now is that it's just not able to do that much damage without that weakness policy activation. So once again, that's why the Togekiss lead was really, really good on Lu's end. And now if you're Lu, you can just spam your electric type attacks. Yeah, Discharge plus Rock Slide, really, really good combo. But you do have to potentially worry about a potential Wide Guard from Celesteela here. So if Lu goes for both of these spread type attacks and Celesteela actually has Wide Guard, that could be an opportunity for Lee to come back into this game.
All Lee does is need to start taking a KO or two, get some more damage out, put some more pressure, and this could really go. Celesteela, though, opting to go for Protect. Don't know if it doesn't have the Wide Guard or just wants to Protect instead. Either way, it's not going to be taking any damage this turn. but we are going to see that Rock Slide connect with the Dragonite here, dealing about half of its health here, and getting that weakness policy activated.
Yeah, so let's see if the Dragonite's faster than the Thundurus. It is not, so yeah, Thundurus with that Choice Specs Discharge, I would think would be enough to just knock out the Dragonite. If Dragonite hangs on, maybe keeps Lee in this one, but yeah, that's going to be enough for a KO, and like you mentioned, you know, we saw the Protect instead of Wide Guard, so I can't say I'm really surprised by that. I think if you're running Meteor Beam, Celesteela, it's probably going to be a more offensive set anyway, right? Meteor Beam, Steel type attack like Flash Cannon, Air Slash, and Protect. And so Lou probably was just deducing, hey, the odds of it actually having Wide Guard here are pretty slim, given that we saw the Meteor Beam already. Indicates to me that it's not really a offensive or defensive Celesteela. So Rotom Wash comes out from Lee's end. That's still going to be able to put in some work, but the thing is that this Thunder is just so oppressive with that Choice Specs Discharge right now. You know, maybe you go for a Hydro Pump onto the Landorus slot, try to just pick up a knockout onto that, but it's pretty difficult to deal with Thunderous Therian right now.
Especially that the Togekiss managed to set up a light screen before it went down. Celesteela being the main way of attacking right now isn't actually going to be doing too much damage. The Rock Slide, though, doesn't connect with the Celesteela, taking some good damage on the Rotom here, but Rotom going for that Hydro Pump. It is going to be locked in and doing a good amount of like damage here.
Yeah, good amount of damage, but as you pointed out, that light screen really coming up huge right now. I think, you know, Lee recognized, though, the paralysis on Celesteela. I think Lee went for the best play, right? Your hope at that point is to Hydro Pump critical hit into the Thundurus, and wow, it's actually Meteor Beam plus Leech Seed. So I was thinking, you know, saying earlier, hey, it's probably not going to be defensive, but that is a super interesting combination. However, probably not enough here in the end, right? Because Thundurus just needs another discharge to win the game. You pretty much have a guaranteed win on Lou's end if you wanted to switch out that Thundurus, for example, to reset that Leech Seed. All it needs to do is come back in and click any electric type attack, basically. But at this point, Lou has such a big lead, so yeah, we're going to see Lee forfeit. And